Move to public participation, and we've been really looking forward to meeting Bernadette Smith in Te Hula Limited. If you'd like to come forward. Good morning. I've been trying to find somebody to assist you in the demonstration that we're all looking forward to. No, we've got Dion and Aaron have put up their hands, so.
Oh, that's great.
Excellent. Do you want to click on your button? Yeah, just the, that's it. Oh, yeah, that's it.
I have a very loud voice, so I was known as the foghorn as a child. But anyway, let's do it. Let's do this. So, it's World Heart Day tomorrow, which is quite apt to what I'm actually going to be sharing with you today and asking for your participation. How will you fill your day tomorrow? Sitting is actually the new smoking. So here we go. So I'll just flick through, or up there. You'll notice now this picture in front of you has the most amazing memories and great, it's emotional for me to know that I have pictures 2008 of people hula hooping in the square. And you'll see also my MC was Joe Giles, which is quite an emotional thing for me as well. But anyway, that was in 2008. Now, I've been looked at over the time as having a hula hoop business as being a bit quirky and a bit different. But I've kept my foot on the pedal as a small business here in Canterbury, and I've just made it work, and we're 10 years next year. So we just go this way? Yeah. So Te Hula is a fitness business, working with people to increase their level of fitness, health and well-being, and definitely well-being is where I'm at. We manufacture our hula hoops here in Christchurch. We've never imported. All of our product is New Zealand and Canterbury made. Hoop Fitness, we are actually 10 years anniversary, as I've said, Hoop Fitness classes in Christchurch with adults, and now I teach preschool children with a product called Hoop with Heart in conjunction with collaboration with the Heart Foundation. So foot is on the pedal. I'm NCQA qualified as a national group fitness instructor, so I'm very, very passionate about making people fit. I've been awarded just last year the Community Excellence Award from Exercise New Zealand, Association of New Zealand, which is a great privilege for my business. I'm looking next year to do, again, it's very apt today because the World Heart Day tomorrow, to have the big heart hoop-off in Christchurch. We're planning a one-off community event to promote physical and mental health in general, to bring New Zealand hula hoop record back to Christchurch, which was set in 2008 and stolen in 2009 by Invercargill. We will promote this event as a positive community event, family coming together. The main attraction is to have as many people, young and old, I teach from 3 to 90, coming together and simultaneously hula hooping for 2 minutes together. The entertainment on the day will be for families to enjoy superheroes. We're looking at having the dark side entertainment. We're having music, dance hoop demonstrations, exercise, and from a local PT. There goes the flat man. I've only just met him. I'll put his name up there. And I'm also in touch with Smile Dial and support from early learning centres around Christchurch with the Hoop with Heart, with having the littlies, and I've got a plan for that. The aim is to raise awareness for the Heart Foundation, to encourage the community to get behind this event and support the cause, to offer Christchurch a fun and community-based health goal, to raise funds for the Heart Foundation in Canterbury, and to engage those suffering with heart conditions. We're looking at having a photo booth for children 3 to 11 who have heart conditions, to have the opportunity to be a hero for the day. We'll also have families and individuals and workplace educational facilities get behind it as well, hoping the council do. Now the event is actually to be advised, but we're looking at 28th of October. Actually, that should be 2018. Sorry, I should have put so it's, I'll be in Vietnam anyway. But support of the day, well, we're looking at this to approach student armies, supports facilities, families, friends, local sports and all that sort of thing. Registrations will be $10 per person to be involved, and we'll have photo tents for the children, photo tents for also for any other individual that wants to come and have a go to be a superhero, so parents can take photos. Anyway, who's supporting us? Heart Foundation, Kelly Boyle, Hoping the Flat Man, local businesses, friends and family, media groups, and the Dark Side Entertainment are what we need. I'm going a bit fast because I know I've only got 5 minutes. We need a venue. We need the council, maybe even the Christchurch City Council to be a major sponsor of this. We've got our plans getting together at the moment. We have an idea of our budget, and we're hoping that we'll have obviously help on the day. We've got team representing. We'd like a team representing City Council to hoop for the record event as well. Okay, it's just some of the things. As I'm hula hooping, I'll talk about some of these things. Okay, we do hoop classes, workplace work, and we promote also hula hooping to get the heart rate up. It certainly gets the heart rate up. And we do a lot of shows. We've sponsored a lot of people. We've raised a lot of money for little girls. We've raised a lot of money for loads of youth boards. You name it, we've done it. So we just feel like, as a small business, I'm on my own. I employ 2 instructors in Christchurch. I employ an administrator, but I am on my own. I need help. Please help me. And let me just finish off. And I'd like to get one person up, but I'm just going to finish off. Hello. Christchurch City Council, you are the heart of our city. Help us and support this as an initiative of yours in 2018. It's amazing what can be done when your heart is the lens of your business. So, Dion Swiggs, come on up.
Oh, that's
I'll give you a quick lesson. If you are right-handed, left foot forward, and you're going to rock your body back and forward.
Go again, Dion.
Not back. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Rock that. Quick. And definitely I'm here to listen to the council.
Can you do it with 2 people at the same time? Does that work?
Only if you're in like a car, that's what kids do. So I need your help. Please help me. Even look at this Canterbury hoop. Yes. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much. And that was a great. Oh, one of the things I'd just like to give you is a chocolate each. So this is a, if I can pass them along, this is a positive message that I'd like to give you this morning with my card. Pass them all around.
So thank you very much for that. Which one of the, so I'm actually going to suggest, Bernadette, that you have a conversation with some of our staff over the access to one of our venues, if it's Hagley Park or Cathedral Square. I think Hagley Park is what you're really aiming for. What was the record? Because it'll be the 10th anniversary of when we held the record before, so it kind of makes sense to win it back in 2018. So what's the record now?
So the record sits at 151 hooping simultaneously for 2 minutes.
151?
Mm.
We can, and that's held in Invercargill.
Yeah.
Was Tim Shadbolt one of those?
Not sure.
Okay, good. That's me off the hook. Right. No, look, thank you very much. We'll get staff to have a talk to you about the venue. It sounds like a great idea. Health and wellbeing, very much where we sit as a city. So it's great. Thank you for presenting and making it fun.
My pleasure.
Great way to start the day. Thank you. Next we have the West Papua Action Canterbury, Gillian Southey.
Tēnā koe, Nan,
Tēnā koe.
Koto councillors. We can't match hula hoops, but we can do storage, I think.
Yeah.
So we've come to ask your solidarity and support for West Papua. As a peace city, we ask you to stand with people who have declared their country a peace, a land of peace. And in the past, the councillors have stood up for quite significant international trade events in particular. We know from my experiences, I work for Christian World Service, for Gatwatch and Gatwatchdog, for against free trade and for fair trade, and helping to stop the multilateral agreement on investment, and to and put substantive submissions into some of the government's free trade agreements. And so we are aware of this international commitment, and we are going from the local to the broadest possible thing, and asking your support to see if we can raise the West Papuan flag on December the 1st, the day West Papua was declared independent from the Dutch in 1961, and we're asking to use your flagpole. The western half of Papua, the Papuan island, we've lost our, has been controlled by Indonesia since 1963, when it was removed from the United Nations decolonisation list, which was reinforced in 1969 when the military handpicked 1,026 West Papuans who voted in a referendum called the Act of Free Choice. It was commonly known as the Act of No Choice. Opposition has been growing. Yesterday, a petition carrying 1.8 million signatures was presented to the United Nations. The signatures were largely gathered in West Papua, which is very mountainous and very isolated. The petition called for a free vote on independence. It was banned by the Indonesian government, so the people risked their lives and arrest to collect the signatures.
So I'm Celeste, and I've done my I did my master's degree, and I looked at New Zealand's foreign aid to West Papua. I spent a couple of years in Otago doing that, and concluded that there's been incredibly harmful effects. So we sort of have used foreign aid to train the police force in West Papua, so effectively the Indonesians, to police West Papuans who have been fighting for independence, as Gillian said, since the sort of early 1960s. Similar case in East Timor, as many of you will know. So the fact that the New Zealand government was supporting foreign aid in that country was something that wasn't very publicly discussed, and in terms of my own research was quite hard to get any information about. They ended up cancelling the program, community policing program, but they have, I think, recently restarted that, which is very concerning. So there's a number of issues in West Papua. They've had their land and resources taken away from them. The Indigenous population have been pushed to the edge through a planned policy of transmigration, where they basically import Indonesians to overtake the local population in terms of numbers. There's tropical rainforests there, which have been cleared for palm oil plantations and other types of mineral and resource extraction, and there's been a number of reports written about that. Freeport McMoran made a deal giving Indonesian authorities effectively 51% stake in the world's largest gold mine and second largest copper mine, and policing is linked to that as well. The Indonesian constitution guarantees its citizens freedom of expression and freedom from torture, and children to grow up free from violence and discrimination. However, every single one of those freedoms is being violated, and in particular raising the Morning Star flag, which is symbolic of West Papuan independence, has been suppressed, and anyone who's attempted to do that, there's been evidence of torture and extrajudicial killings. Almost, most families in West Papua are affected by that violence. Journalists and non-government organisations are forbidden from entering West Papua, so effectively there's a media blackout, and a number of Radio New Zealand has covered this pretty well, effectively, Pacific churches are supporting our campaign, so we have strong support from locals, in particular in Auckland. There's a very strong Pacific and Māori support for this movement, recognising the Indigenous connection in New Zealand.
I'm here to represent the Pacific church leaders, but this is a changing. Pacific leaders like Prime Minister Carol Silveira from Vanuatu, and also Mr. Silveira from the Solomon Island called for the investigation by the Human Rights Council this week. Pacific churches are supporting this campaigning, but we are here to support it and need your support as well. Thank you.
We wish to petition you to raise the Morning Star flag on December 1st, not only as an act of solidarity, but as a call to action. We request this gesture from you not just as citizens petitioning our representatives, but as humans of conscience imploring you to recognize your own ingrained desire for fairness and justice. We're only asking for the most simple act of solidarity. This is a small sign to the Papuan people, for them to know that they're not alone. We're joining them in their call for self-determination and the human rights of the Papuan people. Kia ora e noho rā.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm just, excuse me. Right. I'm reasonably comfortable that if councillors are, that we simply resolve to fly the flag on the 1st of December. I know that there's usually protocols, but I think they're around public buildings that are government owned rather than council buildings. So I think as a council we're entitled to take that up. But I don't want to do that if people aren't comfortable going down that direction. But if people are, I'm happy to move that we fly the flag on the day. You might have to assist us with the flag. And seconded by Glenn. Yep. So I'll put that resolution. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
It would be good if you could send us some more information too, because I mean a lot of us have obviously followed the West Papuan cause for a long time, but not all councillors will have, so it might be quite good if you could email through some further information, because we might want to consider that over the next wee while as well.
And do we have their contact details to get the flag from them?
Yeah, and I presume that we can get some contact details to get the flag.
Yes. We'll leave them.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. And welcome, Flatman.
Cheers.
You were mentioned before.
Yeah, I know. What are the odds? It's nice. Cool. All right. Good morning, everyone. Mayor, councillors, all the other people I've yet to meet. I hope you don't mind. I wrote down what I'm going to say today. Despite the fact that I've talked to thousands of kids throughout New Zealand and I've worn this costume in public numerous occasions, talking to adults still scares me the most. For those in the room that don't know me, my name's Flatman. I started out in 2011 helping students worst affected by the earthquakes through the delivery of food packages. What started off as a very random late night idea to help quickly grew into a full-blown superhero operation, where I was invited into people's homes and schools to talk to kids about what it is I do in the community and the powers of kindness, generosity and compassion. At first, I had no idea what I was doing, but I quickly learned what I was teaching these kids was hugely important, as in their eyes, I was a real-life superhero. So I started up conversations and discussions with them about ways that they can all be superheroes in their own community, homes and schools, and that you don't need super strength or the ability to fly or even billions of dollars to be a superhero. And that all you really need to be a superhero is kindness and love for each other. And that with a little amount of either one of these can change someone's day, week or life. We live in a world that is so buried in negativity It's in the news, social media, workplace and schools. You only have to look on Facebook or staff articles to see such horrible, nasty comments from grown adults, and children are picking up on this. It shows in forms of bullying, anxiety, depression, and worst of all, suicide. We're not stupid or blind. We all know New Zealand has appalling youth suicide rates. And if by talking to children about kindness, love, and empowering them to be their own superhero can save a life, then I want to spend every day doing that by talking to as many youth as possible in a way that's fun, relatable, and just a little daft. But at the moment, I'm limited. I'm limited by time and limited by financial freedom. My goal is to create a school program that I can share into as many schools as possible and start discussions with youth about kindness, generosity, and compassion. At the current minimum wage of $15.75, and my want to be able to have 2 days a week dedicated to be flatman, this would come to a yearly cost of $13,104. Money I think would be well spent if it brings joy into people's lives. I'm certainly not out to get rich. I just want to live in a country where people put the needs and well-being of all people at the forefront of their own lives. So as a council, as business people, as humans, if you have any suggestions to access the funds or know people willing to help, then you know how to reach me. Shine the flatman signal up in the sky and I'll be there. Now, some people say to finish a speech on a famous quote, but instead I'd like to finish on a few quotes from people I've visited over the time. From Jill. Hi flatman, my son was in hospital the day your superhero mates came to visit. Thank you for making his day. It was incredibly stressful being in there and you helped lighten the mood. You are much appreciated. From Sasha. You're truly amazing, flatman. My nieces were a recipient of one of your acts of kindness today. I just want to thank you so much for making the day on the anniversary of their father's passing so much brighter. It's the little things that count in life. And finally from Melva. Hi flatman, I just wanted to say I've been such a big fan of yours for so long. You're doing an incredible job and you just spread such hope. Thank you. As a teacher, I think what you do and what you show is possible is spectacular. Thank you so much. Araha nui. Thank you much for your time, and as always, be above, share the love.
Thank you very much, and I really appreciate it if, I know that you've handwritten that, but if you could photocopy it or get someone to it or type it up and flick it through, because I mean, it's just such a great story. I mean, I met you during, over in the east side after the earthquakes, delivering food to people's doorsteps as a surprise, you know. So what you've done, you know, has been utterly amazing, and those tributes that you've just read out only touch the surface of what somebody who brings a message of kindness to a world that isn't very kind is really quite powerful and moving. So thank you for that. I would like us to do some work on your request. It really does fit within the whole concept of resilience and well-being that we've been talking about as a council, and I'd like to ask the council staff to do some work and obviously work with you to come back with some proposal that we could consider in the nature of a report. So I always hate asking for a report after such a powerful presentation, but it is the way that we can get some action on what you're suggesting. Have to be the living wage though. Do we need a resolution, or I suppose it would be helpful to have
We can make that note, the request staff.
Okay, so it's going to be noted that we request staff. Quickly.
Because it took a month to get through the...
Just look at a small amount from everyone.
Let's do this relatively quickly and come back to us.
Because before the end of the year. Before the end of the year.
All right. Okay, look, thank you very much for presenting today. Thank you.
Cheers, thank you.
And now could we have the Christchurch Memorial RSA?
We'll work out where we have it.
Now, this is, although this is a public forum, I've invited the RSA to come today, and so the presentation that, in terms of timing, is 10 minutes, and so it's more in the nature of a deputation to the council on the particular subject of the Christchurch Citizens War Memorial. So thank you very much. I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and councillors. I'm Pete Dawson. I'm the President of Christchurch Memorial RSA. On my left is Paul O'Connor. Paul is a Vietnam veteran, and he is our Master of Ceremonies for our major commemorative events. And on my right is Jim Lilly, an Executive Member of Christchurch Memorial RSA, and the lead on our consultation and what have you in regard to the Christchurch Citizens War Memorial, or the Cenotaph as it's otherwise known. Who are we? Christchurch Memorial RSA was formed on the 14th of December 1915 with the first New Zealand soldiers to return home wounded from Gallipoli. We've grown from that day, and we are the parent RSA in New Zealand, which now has 182 RSAs around the country and over 120,000 members. We represent 2,110 financial members of Christchurch Memorial RSA, and this is made up of 1,000 returned and services members, and the remainder are associate and club members. I should have said just before that looking at the first speaker today, we didn't realise that we had to bring bribes with us. And we felt that anyway that a bottle of whiskey each was probably going past our budget. Anyway, we'll move on and
rum, actually.
talk about what our goal is. I mean, if you come down on Anzac Day, you might get a free one anyway. But our goal, over the past months, we've circulated a discussion document to our membership, considering the future of the Citizens War Memorial. A copy of this document is included in the flash drive that we've just distributed to you today. The result of that process is that we work with the council to investigate or instigate the process of having the Citizens War Memorial, the Cenotaph, moved out of Cathedral Square. Our preferred option of all those considered in the discussion document circulated is for it to be relocated to Cramner Square. There are a lot of good reasons for this, and we will discuss those. We've consulted widely with this, although we haven't gone out for public consultation. For the last 5 months, we've been in meetings monthly with the Christchurch City Council Parks and Recreation Manager, Mr. Andrew Rutledge. And we have to say with very little progress until the 4th of September meeting, which included a brief meeting with yourself, Mayor. The Mayor stated that the council could do nothing until the CCPT, the Christchurch City Cathedral Property Trust, and the Church Synod had made their decision on the future of the cathedral, and we understand that. Our proposition was again brought to the attention of the council in May 2017. It was initially raised in 2012 by us. It was proposed at the Anzac Day breakfast of the Mayor this year that this would have been a great 100-year legacy project to commemorate the end of World War I centenary, which occurs on the 11th of November 2018. It's a significant day. That is Armistice Day, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, when the guns stopped and peace was declared. The Christchurch Church Property Trust attended the September meeting with us, and they gave us their support for our stance to move the Cenotaph off their church land. They stated at that meeting that they had other proposals, and the Cenotaph is sitting there where they want to put buildings around whatever the decision was made with the cathedral. The Canterbury District RSAs, which is all of the RSAs in Canterbury, the proposal was put to the district annual general meeting in Ashburton in September 2016. The district RSA unanimously agreed with the proposal from Christchurch Memorial RSA. The district has written to the council in support of our proposal and have written to the council stating their support. Our own membership. Our total membership has been canvassed with the proposal. There were 1,359 emails sent out, and an abbreviated version was posted to 851 members who do not have email, a total of 2,210 members. To date, we have only received 4 replies that wish to maintain the status quo. Our media coverage. In 2012, we launched a media campaign which resulted in a bit of a public spat with the property trust, the Church Property Trust. It had the desired effect, though, that the suggestion of a move prompted a series of letters to the editor of the press. The majority in favour, some against. Since then, the Christchurch Memorial RSA has not made any further comments out of the respect of the continuing meetings with the council and other stakeholders. To date, despite considerable and consistent pressure from the media regarding the future of the cenotaph, we have maintained our media silence. I'd now like to hand over to Paul O'Connor for some comments.
So what is the relevance of our project for relocating the cenotaph? The current location has now become untenable, as the new concept plans for the square have this memorial overshadowed by large buildings and dwarfed by the cathedral in a much reduced land space. It should also be recognised that the rebuild of the cathedral will be a construction site for the next 5 to 10 years. This will render the cenotaph unusable for Anzac Day services and other commemorative events during this time. The attendance now at Anzac Day makes the use of Cathedral Square no longer fit for purpose, as the current location cannot cater for the numbers attending since 2013, where the crowds have been between 15,000 and 25,000 people, and that is Christchurch City Council sources. The placement of the cenotaph in 1937 on church land was in desperation, as shown in the discussion documents. The Christchurch City Council at the time stated that the square was too busy for a monument meant to inspire quiet and sombre reflection. The aftermath of the earthquakes and the future of the cathedral have provided the ideal time to reconsider relocation to a more appropriate and honoured site. The Christchurch RSA is the voice of those who have not returned from wars and conflicts. It is recognised as the guardian of remembrance. In 1937, the cenotaph was erected in memory of 4,199 Canterbury people, our people. The nation pledged at the time that they and their sacrifice would not be forgotten. Today, more than ever, they deserve peace and tranquility, and a place where families can pay respects, and a place more fitting than a busy thoroughfare. The current practice for the last 7 years of paying homage to a plywood cenotaph in Cranmer Square is abhorrent to us. The RSA expressed its disappointment at the lack of progress by the Christchurch City Council in an email dated the 30th of May 2017, after speaking with the Mayor on Anzac Day 2017. The email stated that we had no tangible progress in the process and that was necessary to achieve our objects. We stated that the memorial had been disrespected and neglected by the lack of maintenance and no access, which were the responsibility of the council. We were upset that the council was responsible for this lack of action and, in our opinion, had failed in its duty of care, especially after 6 years. To those that gave their lives for this country and our city in that war and wars and conflicts since. The relocation of the cenotaph would allow the Christchurch Property Trust to more easily fulfil the restoration plans on their land, and as we know, the cenotaph will be unusable during the restoration of the cathedral. The Church Property Trust in September 2017 meeting with the Christchurch Memorial RSA and Christchurch City Council indicated their support for our position to relocate the Citizens' War Memorial. The relevance of our preferred site, Cranmer Square, is proven by acceptance of Cranmer Square by the public of Canterbury, as shown by their support on Anzac Day services since 2012. It has historical significance and has been a military tented camp during the war, and since 1922, for many years, the soldiers formed up there and marched to the cenotaph in the square. So why change now? With the concept plans for the new square out in public arena, it is obvious that it is being developed by Regenerate Christchurch as a green area and a place to hold small events to bring the inner city back to life. Bands, music groups, street parties and market days are hardly affording a place of respectful remembrance and sombre reflection. Now is appropriate time to engage with the public in consultation process. At the beginning of 2017, we initially wanted this to be the centenary project for the city. The council does not appear to have such a project in place for the 11th of November 2018. The Synod decision will require legislative change to allow work on the cathedral to proceed. Approval in principle from this council would have the same legislative changes embrace the Citizens' War Memorial as well to facilitate its relocation as part of the same process.
We anticipate that there are benefits in relocating. The immediate benefit is the people of Christchurch will be able to pay their respects on Anzac Day and another important commemorative occasions with the most iconic and unique war memorial sculpture in New Zealand. It's recognised as one of the most significant in the Southern Hemisphere. It is arguably, It is arguably the most important heritage piece of art in this city is responsible for on behalf of the people. To relocate it to Cranmer Square will have huge tourist flow-on effects for that part of the city. Being on the tourist tram route, it will become a spot for people to relax on the green and admire and pay their respects to the fallen at this Canterbury cenotaph. The relocation to Cranmer Square is, in the opinion of the RSA, the most appropriate location for it and is the most cost-effective. Other sites suggested will require considerable investment to create a purpose-built area. Cranmer Square also provides an open green space where the monument is easily accessible to the community, but not swamped by the vastness of other city open spaces. The cenotaph would no longer be lost in the space in the square and overshadowed and dwarfed by the cathedral, the library and other tall buildings planned for that area, but will become a feature of a significant green space in the city. On its own in Cranmer Square, it will be a magnificent setting with the ancillary description boards and interesting history that it carries. One only has to see the Gunners Memorial on the edge of the road at Hyde Park Centre in London. We can achieve the same. In conclusion, it should be remembered that in 2 weeks' time, we commemorate the greatest loss of life this country has ever known. In just 270 minutes, 846 young New Zealanders, predominantly from the Canterbury and Otago infantry regiments, on the 12th of October 1917, gave their lives for King and country at Bellevue Ridge, Passchendaele in Belgium. These were our people. Almost everyone in Christchurch was affected by this tragedy. We promised that we would not forsake them, nor forget them. How often do we hear the words, "We will remember them," and lest we forget. After the Second World War, the Labour government at the time would not allow any more war memorials to be built. They had to be community facilities such as halls, and we give an example, the Christchurch Polytech or ARA Campus War Memorial Hall was pulled down without consultation nor consideration for re-establishment of that monument on the campus. We have the Yoldhurst Memorial Hall under threat of demolition. These are the memorials to the fallen that the locals of this city and our surrounding areas contributed and ceded them to the local councils for care and protection. We, the citizens of Christchurch, are failing in our pledge as a city and as a nation never to forget those that gave their lives for very freedom and democracy that has allowed us to be at this meeting today, lest we forget. We are well aware that there are legal processes to go through, but now is the time for action. We have met and talked for 5 months without any tangible progress. We encourage you to look at the material and the flash drives you have been given. That material will give you all the background information, the alternative sites and the pros and cons for these. The decision to start process for relocation, which we are well aware will involve Heritage New Zealand, applications for resource consents, the Reserve Act, and how it applies to Cranmer Square, and lastly the consultation with the public needs to start now. These are the tasks we urge you as our elected councillors to instruct your staff to commence. We wish that you provide agreement in principle to this appeal so that we, the people of Christchurch, have a fitting location to inspire quiet and sombre reflection, as was originally intended with this monument. where we can truly say we will remember them. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Thank you very much. These timetables are not that easy to, because there's no time now for questions. So what I'm going to propose... Sorry, I'm just... So I'm just going to propose that we request staff to continue to meet with the Christchurch Memorial RSA to explore temporary and permanent options for the location of the Christchurch Citizens War Memorial and seek advice on potential legislative interventions that align with the legislation relating to the cathedral. And that's picking up your point in relation to the legislation. If we have to go through a resource consent process, it'll be exactly the same as what the cathedral would have had to have gone through in terms of the resource consent process. So if there is a legislative option, then it has to be agreed with across party lines, which the cathedral intervention has been agreed. So it doesn't actually matter who forms the government or what parties make up the government in the next wee while. We need to get this on the agenda because the officials will be providing advice to the incoming government as to what is to be included in the legislation. So this needs to be in the mix. And then if we ask staff to keep us informed on the progress on these matters, I understand your sense of frustration around the 5 months. But I've been back through our records and can't find any official request from the RSA back in 2012, which obviously was considerably before my time, to put this on the agenda. So it doesn't seem to have been worked on by the organisation until after it was raised with me at Anzac Day this year. So, staff have taken the issue seriously, and we did need to know what the decision of the synod was going to be, and that was very much my decision, because there was no point making a permanent decision or making a decision that was permanent without knowing what the future of the cathedral was. Its location is part of its heritage status, so that's why we need to get it on the legislative framework for consideration. So this is not making a decision today, and we wouldn't be able to on the basis of a presentation. But now that we have your presentation and it's officially received, and maybe we'll have a separate one that says that at the beginning that we've received the presentation, that there will be an analysis of your presentation done and the work that you've done in terms of working with your community, the type of community engagement that we need to be involved in, whether it's on a moving decision or whether it's on the location, is quite a legal framework under the Local Government Act. And again, I don't think legislation would remove the requirement, and neither it should remove the requirement to have very strong public engagement over either decision or both decisions. So if I could move that we receive the presentation and thank you for it, request staff to continue to meet to explore both temporary and permanent options, and to seek advice on potential legislative interventions that align with the legislation relating to the cathedral, and then request staff keep us informed. Do I have a seconder for that? Andrew? Well, we haven't got time for questions. I mean, yeah, okay.
For me to support it, I would want to see either a timeline added or some sort of urgency around it because of that looming date next year. Otherwise, we might as well just leave it another 100 years. And put it in storage.
The legislation is not going to happen overnight, though. So, yeah, I kind of want to get this on the table.
as long as it's looked at with urgency, if we can at least use that word in there, it's an extremely important date next year.
Okay, so can we put to urgently explore temporary and permanent options? Yep. Yep.
I don't understand why it's linked with the restoration of the cathedral. Can you?
Because if we are to have an alternative mechanism for addressing resource consent requirements, it would have to be legislative. Otherwise, the resource consent required for moving a Category 1 heritage building that derives some of its heritage significance from its current location will take years. All right? Yeah, on these matters, yep. Okay.
I'm just checking with the officer, he'll be taking it over. Yep, so, yep, okay.
Right.
I'm happy to second that. I just think even if it's not the final solution, at least just get an updated report back on what progress has been made, so we keep the visibility.
To urgently explore. Okay. Requests that staff report to council on progress by the end of November 2017. Is that all right?
I would expect that report to have outcomes of where we're going, like a clear direction, because at that point, 1 year, groundworks would have to be done before winter next year, so this summer.
We can't go to the end point until we've done I mean, if we're in a position to report that, but legislation will not be passed by November. I'm sorry, but that's not how Parliament works. We won't have a government before the 7th of October when they count the specials. So, you know, I do want to be realistic here. There is a whole legislative timetable that needs to be established and implemented. If we can get a report back by the end of November, we'll at least know what direction we can be going in. But if I'm just warning people, if we go down the track of a resource consent, it will take years. It will take years. All right? So that's you know, in terms of it's now officially received and it's now officially acknowledged by the council, and we are asking for urgent advice. All right? So I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried.
Thank you for listening to us, and thank you for that debate. I'd like to just say that we have been working along with the council with Regenerate Christchurch. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
And secondly, I would like to encourage and invite all of you here to join us on the 12th of October. I understand that you are going to be planting a tree on that day as well. If you'd like to join us for those two events down at the Park of Remembrance and the Bridge of Remembrance, you'd be very, very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's a very important day. It should be in all of your diaries. Yeah. Thank you. Right, so deputations by appointment, there aren't any scheduled. Presentation